Hi, thank you for joining us at Heuristic Mathematics. So today we're going to go through spatial visualizations questions. So let's go into the question and let's take a look at some of the questions here because I realize most of the students who are in P5 and P6, whereby there is a certain kind of questions in particular, most of them will have problem with. One will be the heuristic kind of questions that I've been going through during the seminars, the webinars, etc. And then the other kind, which is more common and then is harder to tackle, which is spatial visualizations kind of questions. Because for heuristic questions, I think if you practice enough, it is actually doable. There's a certain formula that you can somewhat remember and know what to do step by step. Whereas for spatial visualization, it's more about whether can you visualize. So some students they really lack on this part. So we're going to go into some of the frequently see questions in PSLE that I think by dissecting them and showing them how I actually visualize it, and maybe with more practice, you actually help them to form a certain way of seeing figures and at least know what to actually do when they are required to visualize a particular shape, etc. So one of the most common thing that we will see, or what one of the most common way that I always tell my students is that if you actually have figures that you have unknown shapes or you have like shaded parts or unshaded part that you are required to find that are not regular shape, what my advice to all of you is try to visualize and put them together. Like if they're asking for shaded part, maybe put all the shaded part together. Try to think how can I actually shift the location or the of the shaded part together in order to form something that's more regular. When I say regular shapes, I mean things like those that we have learned how to find the area in particular. So maybe things like rectangles, squares, circles, triangles, or shapes that we are able to find the particular area. So for circle kind of thing, like we can be trying to imagine things like okay, forming a full circle, a semicircle, a quadrant, or even the leaf-like shape. So for those that maybe do not know what is the leaf-like shape, it is this one whereby we always have a quadrant, and then for the quadrant, it's always being cut and then we have this part here. This is what we call the leaf-like shape. And this one, in case anyone do not know how to find the leaf-like shape, is always finding the quadrant and then minus the triangle. And then you will have a leaf-like shape. So this one is considered a shape that is something that we know how to find. So let's go into the question that we have here. So I'm not doing just circle today. I think it's more about trying to teach students to actually imagine how to put the figure together and to find it in a much shorter way than by trying to do the harder way whereby they don't visualize. Yeah, so let's go into the first question. It's considered one of the easier question that I'm going to go through today. So the question here, we have a figure that look more like a polygon. So I know for primary school, they do not learn about how to find the area of a polygon yet. So it's more of like if they are in secondary school, then they will start learning how to find polygons. So for shapes like this, most probably student will get stuck like, oh, I didn't learn this yet. How do I actually find? But you might still you might still be tested in PSLE for shapes like this because in this case they are actually finding the area of the shaded part. So shaded part, as you can see here, the shaded parts are two triangles. So it's perfectly fine for them to test you to find the shaded shape here, the shaded part here. So what we have is we need to try and visualize how can I actually find this and make it like maybe all of them into triangle. So there's two ways of visualizing. For for what I can see is if I put a dot in the center, I can actually cut all of them into the same triangle that what they gave us, correct? So it will make everything much more easy if you are able to visualize this step. So we will see immediately that we have six triangle this is actually equals to the whole area that they gave us, which is 120 cm square. So after that, we will be able to find the area of one triangle, which will give me 120 divided by 6. I will have 20 cm square. Isn't that easy? So after you get the 20 cm square, we need to find the shaded part, which is actually 2 triangle. So if we are finding 2 triangle, basically it's just going to be 20 times 2, and we will form 40 cm square, and that's the answer. So if you visualize it correctly, it will be very easy, like a piece of cake. So, but other students, maybe they don't visualize the same way as I do. So some of them, what I see is they will try to cut it in another way. It's also possible, but as long as you know that in this question, you do have to cut and dissect the diagram in order to be able to find, because we really didn't have much information. We were given that all sides were the same, and they also give us that the whole area is equals to 120, and that's it. We do not know how to find polygon, so we have to try to create as many triangles as possible in order for us to be able to solve it, because that's what the primary school actually learn so far only, like to find triangle, rectangle, squares, circles. So other students, they will tell me, say maybe I have to cut it in such a way. Not wrong also. So in the same way, you are still forming triangle as well. But if you are thinking in such a way, then what you need to do is you need to, like what I say from beginning of the video, visualize and think, how can you shift the shaded part together so that we can form more regular shape? Because as you can see here, this is definitely not regular, right? Like I cannot find what is this. So but if I actually shift this part over to this side here, then I will actually have this whole thing shaded, correct? Then I have one shaded triangle, correct or not? So followed by the other side here. If I imagine this one being shift over to here, or rather I shift this over to this part here that is not shaded yet. So if I shift it over here, then this whole part is shaded, and then I have another triangle shaded. So in other words, I'm still finding 2 triangle as per the same way that I was using the different method of visualization just now. And also, if you count the triangles that we have now using this way of visualization, it's still the same. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's still the 6th triangle equals to 120. The steps still remain the same. It's just different way of visualization. There's no right or wrong. As long as you try to actually form regular shapes, and if it makes sense to form a regular shape, most probably you're on the right track. So moving on, we have a second question. So this one is maybe the question before and the question here we have on screen is, they are like about the 2 to 3 marks kind of questions. Most probably it's going to be in paper 1, booklet B, or maybe paper 2 in the first 10 question. Yeah, so it will not be that tedious. But if you cannot visualize, I think it will be a much longer steps before you can actually get to the answer. So what I'm trying to do is doing a breakdown to help you see how we actually visualize it. Yeah. So for this question here, we have a rectangular garden measuring 21 meter by 26 meter. There's a 5 meter walking path running through it. Find the area of the walking path. So for this one, I will encourage you to try and visualize as well. Maybe take 1 minute and stuff to try and think. So I heard from most of my students how they visualize for this question is, the first thing I'll see them doing is they will be cutting lines across straight lines most of the time. But the thing is, even if we manage to cut straight line like this, I don't think it really help, because in this case here, even if I cut it like this, right, what I have here, like this part, oops, let me color with a nicer color. So let's say for this part, even if I cut it as per what they do, I will have a shape that is not a square, not a rectangle. It looks more like a parallelogram. And then in primary school, kids are not taught the formula of how to find parallelogram. It's not commonly known. Yeah, even though there's like some students that have learned it, yeah, but most of them they don't. And even if you have already learned how to find parallelogram, it's impossible to use the formula to find it because we do not have the height here. So by cutting in a way of such, most probably after that they will tell me say they give up on doing the question because they don't know what to do next already. After cut, they don't have any other information. So think creatively. Am I correct to say that if I actually shift this down, oh, this is a bit big. So if I actually shift this down, I shift this down, I shift this down, am I correct to say I will have the same rectangle but slightly shorter rectangle? So maybe something like that. And then if I visualize that is being shifted down, so maybe it will be something like this, then we'll have something like that. But then like the walkway will be gone, the walking path will be gone. And then with that said, since the walking path is gone, this part here will get shortened, right? Since we take away the walking path. So here will be 26 minus away 5, correct? Because the walking path was 5 meters as stated in the question. So we have 21 here, whereas for the breadth, it remains unchanged. So the breadth remains unchanged. And then here, what we will have is still 21. With this visualization done, isn't it so much more simpler? It's basically a piece of cake. What you actually need to find is the total area at first, whereby we have 26. We multiply by 21. So you can do your multiplication or you can do your mental sum. What I have here is I will have 546. This is 546 meter square, followed by the second one. After I do my visualization, my area without the path, will then become 21 times 21. Am I correct? So 21 times 21 here we get 441 meter square. So it's very easy for us to find the walking path then. Am I correct to say so? So for me to find the walking path here, so walking path basically equals to, I will be taking my 546, which is the total area inclusive of the walking path, minus the total area without the walking path. Then my answer basically I will get 105 meters square, which is the answer that we need for this question. Isn't that simple? So that's why I say this is the most probably going to be a 2 marks or a 3 marks, because if you have 3 steps, most probably it's like 3 marks question at most. So I hope that you all grab something at this point. So the next question will be a bit tougher. It could be a 4 marks question because it requires more imagination, even though the question actually don't look that tedious. So I'm going to move down and you will see a trapezium. So this question here, some student will tell me, say that, hey, maybe we can find the trapezium using the formula of trapezium if you actually have learned it. But the thing is, in primary school, not many have learned the formula to find the area of trapezium as well. So other students, what you will commonly see is that they will tell me, say, hey, I'm going to cut this part and then form a rectangle with 2 triangles. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the area of the rectangle, and then I find each of the triangle, I add them together. It works also, but there's one thing about this question that make it harder. That is, we actually do not have the, we actually do not have this part here. So it makes everything harder, because even if you have the formula, even if you do know the formula of finding a trapezium, which is, you will still not be able to find the thing, because like you need the height in the formula. Or if you want to find the rectangle or the 2 triangle and add them up together, you're not able to do so because we are missing off the height. So what I would like to highlight to you all for this kind of question, especially if it is a area question or parameter question and they somehow gave you angles, which is a bit off, right? Normally they won't give you angles when they want you to find area or parameter. So this is something that you need to take note and be careful and know that, hey, since they give me the angles, right, somehow it means I might need to use the angle. So what I realize if I look at the angle here is that this part is actually 90 and this part is actually 90 as well, right? So knowing that this here is 90 and then the other side here is 37, it will mean that I can find this quite easily by taking 180 minus 90 minus 37. So I will have that angle at 53, right? Because it's the sum of angle in a triangle. So it also remind me that, hey, so here is 53. And if I find the other side here, that is the purple side here, and same thing, 180 minus 90 minus 53, I will actually get 37 here. So in another words, they are actually similar, these two triangles. So let's do more imagination here. How about combining these two into one triangle? So if I combine these two into one triangle, how will it look like? I think it will be something like this. And the most important part is because the top part here with this angle in red and this angle in red form together, I'll get a nice 90-degree, correct? So if I do get that 90-degree, it means this part was given as 6 cm and the other side here is given as 8 cm. So I actually have my base and height. So meaning I can at least find the two triangle, which is, let's say if I label this as triangle A and this as triangle B, I will be able to find my triangle A and triangle B area, correct or not? So area of A plus B will actually just become 6 times 8 times half. Okay, or you can take half times 8 times 6 also can. Basically, it's just the formula to find the triangle. So what we have here is 24 cm square. And then we found the area of the triangle. Then the next thing here is, since we actually get to that point already, our next trouble is we still do not have this line, right? This line in blue color that was the height from the beginning, like this part and this part, we still don't have it. And if I combine these two triangles together, that part is in the center, correct? So I'm gonna use the triangle here in order, I'm gonna use the triangle here to find the blue line there. So in order for me to find the blue line, which is the height, which is required for me to find the rectangle, because if you look at the rectangle, if I draw it out, I'll know that this part here is 10, because the top they told us say this is 10. But then here, which is the height, which is the blue part, it still remain unknown. So if it is unknown, I cannot find my rectangle. So I'm going to use my triangle that I have over here to try to find the height. How am I going to do that? So I need to find height equals to how much? But before I try to find my height equals to how much, let me find the green part here, which is this. So this one, if you can actually see, this and this form the green part here. And if you notice, the bottom one, they gave us the whole part here. From here to here is equals to 20, correct? So with that said, my green color, which will be my new base, is actually equals to 20 cm minus away 10 cm on top. So this is equals to 10 cm. So if I manage to find this as 10 cm, and I also know the area of the triangle, I think I can find my height already. So normally we have our height, and then we can times our base, right? So if this is my height in this case, my base will be this one, am I correct? So we just found our base, and then times half. So my height is still unknown. My base, I just managed to find it, which is here, which is the 10 cm. So, and I'm going to multiply by half. And we also have our area of A and B already, which is found right here, which is our 24. With that said, I think I can find my height quite easily. by taking 24, divide by half, and then divide by 10. So if I divide by both of them, I will actually get height equals to 4.8 cm. So with that said, means I found this part as 4.8 cm, correct? So if I manage to get to this point, I think it is actually quite easy to understand and know what to do already. So the very difficult part for this question basically is the one that I'm going to box it up in yellow. So first thing is, so far what we have done is we do visualization in order to get the area of the triangle, which I think some of you might be already stuck already at this part, because like you look at the question, you see that there's no height, you see that you cannot find the trapezium regardless how you find it as a trapezium or as two triangle and one rectangle. So this is a very crucial part. So this kind of question, they are really testing on spatial visualization, because you need to be able to visualize and shift the things first before you can start. So once you start, and then you will actually get to see some light and you are able to continue. So the second thing that make it a 4 or 5 mark question is because in this case, after you find that already, you still have a lagging of the height, which make it difficult, whereby you need to think of it in a way whereby you can see that the height can be found using another height and base of the same triangle. So I hope this is clear enough. If not, maybe you can replay a few times or join us for our June holiday program. For June holiday program, we'll be touching on questions of such or even higher order to bridge students who have like problem with heuristic questions and for spatial visualization. So mainly on this two and mainly on paper 2, and we'll be going through multiple test paper questions plucked from different years and different school, like the top school papers. I'll be going through some of those that I think is really important. So mainly on this kind of question or on the heuristic question, if you actually follow us on heuristic mathematics, you will see some of the common questions that we've been going through, such as like part and unit, quantity and value, or the before and after question, or the ratio questions or percentage question, whereby you have to use unity to actually solve it. So let's go back to the question, and I hope that you all learned something from this video. And if your child still have problem after watching this video, please join us for the June holiday program that will actually help your child to booster their marks to the next level or the next AL. So what we actually have here, so just now we mentioned that we have our 4.8 ready. So basically what we need is we need to find our rectangle. So rectangle area basically is equals to 4.8 and then multiply by 10. I have 48 cm square, correct? So after that, we just now already find the combined triangle, which is like the triangle of two of them, like the A plus B. It is actually equals to 24 cm square, just a recap. So the total area of the trapezium will be equals to 24 plus 48 cm square. So at this point, we already found our answer, which is 42 cm square. I hope this is very clear for you all, and please leave a comment below or um, ask any questions if you have anything that you're not sure and stuff. I will try to get back to you all, or book a trial class with us through our website or through our Facebook page. So this is the third questions that we are at, which is at 4 or 5 marks. Then I'm going to go to our last question for the day, which is we have our circles. So you can see this is like more common kind of question. Just now that one is not so common because normally they don't really ask in a way whereby they involve angles, but it's still possible that it will come out because yeah, we don't know what the setters actually want to set for this year and stuff, especially after the COVID years. It's a bit harder to predict because for certain topics they took it out for 2 years and then now they are putting it back again. So let's focus on this question here, that we have a square, we have a quadrant, we have a semicircle. So some students, they will tell me, hey, I don't know where is the square, where's the quadrant, where's the semicircle, because it looks so confusing. When I look at the figure here, it's like they are overlapping. So overlapping could be one of the problem that most students actually have problem if they don't practice enough spatial visualization, which some of them, they can see it more easily than others. But I think for maths, it's a topic that if you practice enough, you see enough, you solve enough, you will see like, yeah, or I will try to dissect it in a way that you can actually understand it like part by part, and then help you see light faster lah, in a way whereby you actually get it or someone actually point it to you, and after a while hopefully you grasp it as well. So here we want to find the area of the shaded part. Again, I mentioned over and over again since just now from the start of the video, we want to find shaded part, we want to find unshaded part. First thing we do is imagine how do I put them together in order for me to have regular shape, as regular as possible, so that our life can be as easy as possible. So what I can think of is, maybe let's cut a few lines, and then hopefully it helps us. So I'm going to cut this line here. Reason being is because I want to shift this red part that I just shaded to here. I want to shift it here. So after I shift it here, this part will become shaded. And it seems like my life is a little bit easier. Let me shade it nicer. Okay, a bit hard to shade it nicer. Never mind. I'll just put it as such. Okay, so after that, the next thing is I can see that for this part, I somewhat can shift it here, I feel. They are the same. Yeah, they are symmetrical because this one is cutting right across. So if I can shift this one right here, so my new shaded part, right, as what I can see, is I actually have this part. So let me highlight in yellow my new shaded part. I have this whole part here shaded with my new imagination. After I imagine and visualize the shifting, I will have this whole part shaded, correct or not? Then this part here basically is no longer shaded, correct? Here is no longer shaded as well. So another thing that is remaining to be shaded is the orange part that now I'm going to shade, which is this part, correct? Then it makes our life so much more easier, right? So you can see that it's a more regular shape. This one is basically my triangle A. That's what I mean by shifting them before you start doing. Because if you start visualizing it better, or if you start by visualizing, you will save a lot of physical step whereby you need to go and find all the irregular shape. And it's really impossible to find some of the shapes. I will explain later on that part. So let me just solve the question first. So for A, I can basically just find the triangle. The question actually gave us, they never give us the sides lah. So, but the thing is, they actually gave us the area of the square, whereby we have 240. So that is good enough for me to find A already. If you realize A is actually a triangle that is half of the square, correct? So I have 240 cm square. I can straight away divide by 2. I get 120 cm square. And then we have B. B is basically 1/4 of it, right? So if you can see, if I cut across the whole thing here, this is basically just going to be 1/4 of the square that we have here. So you will have 1/4 multiplied by 240, and then we have 60 cm square here. The next thing we know is we already find our shaded part already, which is we're going to combine A plus B, like the total shaded part, which is equals to A plus B, equals to 60 plus 120. Or some students, if you can do it fast, you can understand that it's actually 3/4 of the square. You can just take 3/4 times 240. You should already get 180 cm square. I'm just explaining so that everyone actually get it thoroughly. Even for those that maybe cannot really grasp fully, they will at least get what I'm trying to do. And Another thing that I don't encourage you to straight away jump into 3/4 times 240 is because you might make mistake and you might not get working marks because the teacher want to know how you actually visualize the thing also. Yeah, especially if a question like this, right, I would think that it's actually a 4 marks. Yeah, it could be a 3 marks depending on how the teacher want to actually set the question. So just now going back to why I say that we must do visualization. Imagine you didn't do what I did. Imagine you try to actually find individual parts. I have no idea how you are going to find. Okay, maybe for this one it's still possible. For the quadrant one, I think it's still possible. Student will tell me, say that here you find a triangle, here you find a quadrant. Okay, that's fine. You get maybe 1 mark for doing this thing, but that's much longer, right? So that's why I say it's 4 marks, because if you cannot visualize, right, it's really the harder way. And I think you will still be able to find this part as well, even if you don't do your visualization. So what you can do is, if you are at least able to visualize this part as a leaf, as early on before we start the lesson, I was like saying that we can find leaf, right? This is basically the leaf that we always talk about, whereby it's a quadrant. Oh no, okay, whereby it's a quadrant here, and then we minus a triangle, we get the leaf. So the quadrant is basically this part here that we mentioned, and then after that we minus away the triangle here, then we get the leaf on that part. So for the red part here, it's still doable. So basically most students, what they will do is they will find the leaf first, and then after that they will try to find this part lah, which is the whole red part, which is now turning black, and then minus away the leaf. But then again, at that point, right, I'm not too sure whether can you find that, because some students, they might not be able to see that this is actually 1/8 of a circle for the red part. The red part is actually 1/8 of the circle. How do I see it? It's because this part here is actually a 1/4, correct? And this part here is directly cutting through a 1/4. So it's 1/8 of the circle. But if you are able to see it's 1/8 of the circle, and also you are able to see that there's a leaf, so what you are going to do for your red part here is basically, oh sorry, wrong usage of color. So it's basically the 1/8, and then after that we minus the leaf. Then that will get you this part. So you'll find this, you will be able to find this by doing what I say just now lah. So basically you will be finding your triangle, which is here, and then your quadrant here, and then followed by a 1/8 circle, which is the red part, and then minus away the leaf, which is the green part here. So we managed to find that. But then, however, you're still not done with the question. Yeah. So you realize how long the question is. At this point, you still have this last part that you need to find, whereby you need to find half of the triangle, and then you need minus another 1/8 of the circle, because this part here is another 1/8 of the circle, right? So you need to minus this thing. Then you find the yellow shaded part, and then you need to add all of them together. So that's why it's very long if you don't practice spatial visualization. I hope this session is really useful for you guys, and I'm going to sign off here. Stay tuned if you actually want to learn more techniques about how to solve PSLE questions, and also if you actually need more practice and you really find it really hard to follow all this question by now, which is I think about less than 4 months or 5 months to your PSLE date. For those that are taking 2022 PSLE, I think it's time to sign your child up or sign yourself up for a lesson with us, so that we can actually go through questions like this with you and understand more about what is your individual needs and help you to tackle questions as such. So we have like focus group that is small groups that is like lesser than 5 people, that is online lessons. And we also have some focus group for the June holiday program, which is a 1-month program that is very intensive, that will be going through questions of such. So I'm signing off here. Hope you guys are enjoying learning math with us. Okay, thank you and have a good weekend.